It started with a flag, not a loud one, not a political one, just a simple custom family flag hanging outside the Ramirez home, navy blue with their last name stitched in gold. The neighborhood had never cared about decorations before, until Karen did. Karen had recently become HOA president after what she proudly called a necessary leadership correction. Translation: she pushed out the old board by convincing people the community needed stronger standards, and she wasted no time. An official violation letter appeared on the Ramirez door. Unauthorized exterior display, remove within 48 hours, $500 fine if not corrected. The Ramirez family was confused. No rule had ever mentioned personal flags. When Mr. Ramirez politely emailed Karen asking for clarification, her response was cold. The board has discretion to determine visual uniformity. Your flag disrupts aesthetic harmony. Disrupts aesthetic harmony. That phrase would soon become infamous. Some neighbors quietly agreed with Karen. Rules are rules, they whispered. Others thought it was ridiculous. But instead of resolving it calmly, Karen escalated. She began sending neighborhood-wide emails framing the Ramirez home as non-compliant and resistant to community standards. Suddenly, neighbors stopped waving. Sides were forming. One flag had turned into a battlefield. And Karen, she wasn't enforcing rules. She was drawing a line down the middle of the neighborhood. Karen didn't just find the Ramirez family. She weaponized the entire neighborhood. 3 days after the first violation, every homeowner received a subject line that made hearts race. Urgent, protecting our property values. Inside was a carefully written attack, disguised as leadership. Karen claimed that unauthorized personal displays were the first step toward declining standards. She warned that if one exception was allowed, others would follow. Bright colors, political banners, visual chaos. She never mentioned the Ramirez name directly, but everyone knew. Then came the poll. She asked neighbors to vote on a new emergency amendment banning all exterior custom displays without prior HOA approval. The tone was subtle but clear. Support this or support disorder. That's when things turned ugly. Some neighbors sided with Karen publicly in the community Facebook group. Standards matter. We moved here for uniformity. They should just follow the rules. Others defended the Ramirez family. It's just a family flag. This is overreach. We've never had this issue before. Friendships cracked. Group chats turned hostile. Block parties were quietly canceled. Children overheard adults arguing about compliance. And Karen? She kept smiling. At the next board meeting, she praised the engaged discussion, acting as if she hadn't lit the fire herself. But privately, she sent the Ramirez family a new letter. $1,500 accumulated fines, due immediately. The message at the bottom was clear. Continued resistance will result in legal escalation. This was no longer about a flag. Karen had turned a peaceful neighborhood into a battlefield. And she wasn't finished. Karen didn't just fine the Ramirez family. The HOA meeting was packed, more than anyone had ever seen before. Chairs filled the clubhouse. People stood against the walls. The air was thick, not just tense, but divided. Karen walked in like she owned the room. Blazer pressed, clipboard in hand, smile controlled. She opened the meeting calmly, discussing community order and protecting investments. Then she called the Ramirez issue forward. Mr. Ramirez stood up. He wasn't angry. He was tired. He explained that there had never been a written rule against family flags, that Karen created the interpretation after becoming president, that fines had stacked without warning. Karen interrupted him mid-sentence. "You are refusing compliance. This is documented." Then she did something that stunned everyone. She projected a slide titled Non-Compliant Property Timeline. It showed their home photo, highlighted, circled, publicly shaming them. Gasps filled the room. Mrs. Ramirez stood up, shaking, saying their children had been asked at school why their family was breaking rules. That's when the room split in real time. Half clapped for Karen's firm leadership. The other half booed. Neighbors began arguing with each other, not even about the flag anymore, but about control, authority, power. One neighbor shouted, "This isn't leadership. This is intimidation." Karen banged the gavel repeatedly. "Order, or I will clear this room." And just like that, it happened. Two neighbors nearly got into a physical fight. Police were called. The meeting ended in chaos. The neighborhood was no longer a community. It was factions. And Karen? She blamed the Ramirez family in her follow-up email. But what she didn't know, someone in that room had been recording everything. Karen didn't just fine the Ramirez family. Karen thought she had won. The fines were active. The amendment passed. Barely. Half the neighborhood feared her. Then the video went public. The recording from the meeting, Karen interrupting, shaming, projecting the Ramirez home, threatening to clear the room, was posted in the community group. Within hours, it spread beyond the neighborhood. Then came the real shock. A local attorney contacted the Ramirez family. After reviewing the HOA bylaws and state property statutes, one detail changed everything. The emergency amendment Karen pushed through violated procedural requirements. It lacked proper notice, the fines were illegally assessed, and public shaming could be considered harassment. A lawsuit was filed, not just against the HOA, against Karen personally for abuse of authority. The neighborhood that once clapped for her leadership went silent. Insurance refused to cover her personal liability. Legal fees mounted. Board members distanced themselves, and then came the final blow. At the emergency re-election meeting, homeowners voted her out, overwhelmingly. No applause, no speech, just a quiet removal. Weeks later, Karen's own home went up for sale. Under market value, neighbors watched as the moving truck pulled away. The woman who divided the neighborhood over aesthetic harmony left behind fractured friendships, legal debt, and a reputation she could never repair. The Ramirez flag? It still hangs, unbothered. And the neighborhood? They rewrote the bylaws together. Karen tried to control everything. Instead, she lost it all. Have you ever had any similar HOA experience? Share it in the comment. I read all of them. Also, tell us where you are watching from and please like, share, and subscribe.